Hello CFI family, Greg Orr, President of CFI. Just wanted to take a few moments today to talk through some of our new initiatives going on in our new Insider video. This is number 5 for us now, and hopefully the past ones have been good. Hopefully this one will be even better. Wanted to introduce you to a new gentleman. I shouldn't say a new gentleman, a gentleman that's been with us for quite some time, but a little bit newer to his role. Jeff Thurlow, who is our professional driver advocate. Say hello, Jeff.
Hello guys, how's everybody doing? I can just say I'm glad to be here at CFI. I've got my start back in 2008. Came here as a student driver, went through truck driving school up at Muskegon Community College. Then after that you come through orientation, go out with a finisher. Then I solo drove, I team drove. And then for the last 2 years that I was on the road, I trained. So I kind of got that full circle of everything we do here at CFI as drivers. After that, I got the opportunity to come off the road in January of 15. Came into the training department doing student upgrades. Yep. Worked out, you know, when orientation classes would come in, we would do the tests and stuff like that, the road test. And after that, I did that for about 11 months. And then I got the opportunity to take the orientation class over. And I did that for about 1.5 years.
Holy cow. So how many total years driving did you have with us?
About 7.
About 7 total years driving, and you've been with us total now of?
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years. Wow. Well, that's great. You know, the thing that just blows me away about our company is the amount of tenure that we have, not only in our employees, in the shop, in our office departments, operations, finance, all those areas, but our driver population as well. We've got one of the most tenured and experienced driving staff that there is in the industry, and it just amazes me every time that I look at the numbers. So really great to have you here for 10 years, Jeff. Well, hey, let's jump in. One of the things that I think everybody wants to understand, especially our professional drivers, is what does a professional driver advocate do?
So it's funny, I'm the second person, I guess, that's had this position as a driver advocate here at CFI, and Tim Hicks was my predecessor. And I still get questions weekly, you know, what does a driver advocate do?
Yep.
It's kind of a little bit of everything. There's not really one set thing that you do. It's not like when I was in orientation, we knew exactly what we were doing every day. I come in and we talk to drivers down here at the driver services building. They're having problems, concerns, questions, just anything that's going on with their daily lives that we can help them out with. Yep. We try to take care of those issues.
Do you have an example of maybe a recent call or somebody that's come up to your window and said, hey, I need some help with this? What would be a good example of something that's just been recently happened?
You know, miles comes up. As much as, you know, as well as we're doing with miles still come up. And I think with as large of a company as we are, I think, you know, we're just going to have those issues.
Yeah.
But that's why we've got a good support group here to take care of that.
Yeah. And I think to your point, you know, as strong as our miles have been, I think probably some of the challenges is, especially some of our newer drivers, just really trying to learn our system and how we dispatch and making sure that they're boarding, you know, timely and effectively. So it's more education probably than anything at that point. But you know, we obviously have some issues internally that we need to continue to improve upon. And you know, I think as we hear those opportunities, it's always prudent that we are able to make changes and fix those things. So we appreciate what you do for us every day out here. Well, let's jump on another subject. So from a safety perspective, each month we always have kind of a theme that's going on, kind of more industry related, but we always inherit those and try to figure out how do we make sure that we're following that process from an industry standpoint, but more importantly, reinforcing those messages to our drivers. So in April, what is our theme this month, and what are we doing differently to try to educate our drivers?
Yep. So April is National Distracted Driving Month, and I can tell you that the biggest thing here, and it's been here since I've been here and probably a long time before that, is captain of the ship.
Yep.
I can tell you that last year, and you know probably more than anybody, last year in April was our highest DOT crash month.
Yep.
We're doing really well this month, fingers crossed. Yeah, knock on wood.
Yep.
We're at 7 so far, and we're the 20th day of April, so, and our plan was 18.
Yeah.
So as much as everybody would like to say we'd like to be at 0,
yep,
we know that we're going to have those type of issues, but to say we're less than half and we're 2/3 of the way through the month is amazing.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think, you know, the thing that is we always have our safety meetings, and I know you attend each one of those. You know, my message is always, you know, cell phones are a great thing, technology is a great thing, but at the end of the day, folks, it tends to be the biggest distractor that we have out there. And you know, it's important for us to make sure that each one of you get home every night to see your family when you want to. And, you know, that's just one of the things that we're going to continue to keep stressing, is to manage those cell phones as well as we can. So let's do that. So let's talk about another thing. I know you participated in a conference called MATS not too long ago over in Louisville, Kentucky. Can you give us a little insight on what that's all about and what you did?
So I've never had the opportunity to go to one of these. And then I got to go to the largest one in the country. It's in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky State Fairgrounds. I can tell you there's just over a million square feet of vendor space. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
It's to walk from one end of that building to the next is unbelievable.
And we had one of our trucks that were all spiffed up and shined up.
Yeah.
I think you did a lot of spit shining over a couple days because we had snow and everything that took place, right? So
it rained going up there and it rained coming back. So I got up there about 2 days before the rest of the crew got up there, got the truck inside, got it wiped down, cleaned up, and pretty proud moment to see the truck inside. And there wasn't a lot of other trucking companies that were there, as far as on the recruiting side, that were able to bring their trucks in. So it was pretty amazing to see that.
Now you ended up doing a lot of recruiting, kind of, I guess, to a certain degree, right?
I worked with Gretchen and a couple of her recruiters on her team, and I think I really filled in good with they were having those conversations with those drivers, and then when they had truck questions or equipment questions or whatever it was that they couldn't fill in, that's where I got involved and kind of brought that expertise there.
Well, hey, let's jump over to another one. So one of the things that, as a you know, a provider to our families and our employees here, we're very, very focused on our military folks. And one of the things that makes me really proud is to know that we are trying to do a lot of things for our drivers to be able to bring additional value to them, recognize them. So I know that we're getting ready to roll out some new logos on some of our new red trucks as we're putting new trucks out in the field. So what is that logo going to look like?
It's going to be a military type background. You're going to see a set of soldiers and a set of military planes and maybe a helicopter in the middle. It's pretty awesome. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be beautiful. It'll be on the side of the, side of the cab.
We're doing it on each side too, right?
Correct.
Yep. So that's really something. Again, we're very proud of, to be able to recognize all of our military folks. We're not going to go back and do it on our white trucks. As we roll out our new trucks this year, we're going to continue to keep adding them on. So, over the next couple, 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to have our whole fleet logoed with that military flag, our military logo. Well, last question for you. So as we look at, over the years of your career, while you've been a driver, I know one of our big initiatives is to figure out how to get into Canada and do more work up there. And I know that you were very much a proponent of going across border. So can you give us kind of the pros and cons of your personal story on going across border?
Sure. I started here as a student driver, and I got out there as a solo driver, and it was scary. I'll admit, it was scary at first. You're crossing the border. If you've never done anything like that, of course I went to different countries when I was in the military, but when you're empowered with a piece of equipment and you're hauling freight and kind of that responsibility falls on your shoulder, you get a little nervous.
Yep.
But the guys in Taylor, they're aces up there. They take care of us. If you have any questions with that, call them guys up. Let them, take care of your problems.
Yep.
That's why we have that great staff all over the United States, really. And if you never had a chance to cross the border into Canada, I would highly suggest it. One of my favorite loads that I ever hauled in the 7 years I drove was going up to New Brunswick.
Oh, wow.
And if you've never been up into that area, it's absolutely gorgeous.
That's what I've heard. Yep.
I served 4 years in Alaska, and I compare that to that. It was just that open beauty you don't get to experience in a lot of other places.
Yep. Well, that's your set of questions. So what do you got for me?
I can tell you that, Greg, a lot of questions talking about our freight and how we are consolidating our area down to where we're hauling freight at.
Yep.
What are we doing, and where are we at in all that?
Yep. So as you look at the whole transition from Conway to XBO and now over to TFI, which is CFI, one of the big things that we're really trying to focus on is tightening up our network. And when you think about a tight network, it's really staying out of the pockets that we just don't have a lot of density in. And you think about that, it could be, for example, going up into Idaho, Wyoming, those areas where we just don't have a lot of freight and density. And I would tell you, over the last 6 months, we have made some huge changes to our network where really, if you think about, I don't want to compare us to the old CFI, but when you think about who old CFI was, we were really in that sweet spot between, call it Michigan and Texas, and that's really where our corridor is at. And, we've got some really good pockets in Georgia, Florida, upper Northeast, but really staying true to who we are as an organization, and that's really what we're focused on. And we've done a really good job of that. I think as hopefully our drivers are starting to see, about 65% of our freight today is going between that corridor. And we're really focused on trying to grow Mexico and Canada again. We've been able to increase our revenue both from Mexico and Canada dramatically over the last 3 months. So, we're going to continue to see a lot of that build out, and we're very confident that we'll be able to continue that. So,
I can tell you that when I first started my job, we were getting a lot of complaints on drivers weren't getting enough miles.
Yep.
And now I'm starting to hear it, and the turn of that is, you guys are running me too hard.
Well, that's a good problem to have. Hopefully everybody feels the same way.
So, talking about where we run freight at and where our terminals are at, what are some of the good things that we got going on that's happening maybe in West Memphis and Laredo?
Yep, so a couple things that I'll share, and I'm going to steal a little bit of Randy's thunder here. So in West Memphis, we are partnering with Transport America, and they have recently opened up a new shop. I think it was actually starting this week, to where they've got about 8 total employees on there, to where they can do a lot of our PM service now. So for all of our drivers that go through West Memphis, I think Randy and I kind of pulled some stats, and on average, we have probably about 50 drivers a day that hit West Memphis. And if you look at the surrounding market, it's almost 100. So when you think about that, we're spending a ton of money going to, some of our third-party vendors getting PM services done. And if we can funnel those folks in there, that's a huge savings to the company. And then also in Laredo, we just opened up a mini shop down there, where we have a third-party vendor that comes on site and actually does PM services for us. And again, it's a huge savings to what we're doing as an organization right now instead of paying for over-the-road service. And ultimately, we had, in the month of March, I think we did about 80 PMs in Laredo, and we'd like to see that about north of 100 right now. So I think we'll be able to get there over time. But if you think about that, just over a 2,000 truck fleet, I mean, that's just a ton of money that we're spending. Keep it in-house, and really it's helping grow the organization. And ultimately, as you think about TFI in general, there's more and more carriers that we're going to acquire across the United States, and it just gives us that much more opportunity to be able to share resources. So we're really focused on that.
Even though we're not really the same company, we're able to share those and
absolutely
benefit it where we can.
Yep, absolutely.
So one of the other big questions that I get a lot is the new technology that we have on our trucks, the collision mitigation. I know we've had some issues with it, and it's kind of wavered back and forth on how it's happening or whatever, but is there any new updates or anything on that you can talk about?
Yeah, actually I talked to Randy just last week about this, and it was interesting. So what we're finding out is Meritor was really having some problems with getting the new updates out. We've been able to actually receive the updates. Our shop here in Joplin actually has the updates now, so we can actually start doing some updates to our collision mitigation system. It actually hasn't been rolled out to all of our third-party vendors like MHC or anybody else yet, so it's kind of crazy that we've already got the technology. But as we're getting trucks in, we're starting to update those trucks, and at this point, we don't know if there's been if the enhancements are positive or negative. Obviously, we're all assuming they're going to be better than what they were, but until we can get some actually in place and tested, we won't know. But I know Meritor has really put a lot of efforts around this, and we want to make sure that we've got the best technology out there for our drivers.
Keep them as safe as possible.
Absolutely,
yep.
Absolutely.
So, rumor mills, that always happens.
Rumor mills.
We've been, all last year, we got all red trucks in.
Yep.
This year we're getting red trucks in. Is there are we staying red? Are we going white? Are we getting pink, purple, or what are we doing?
Well, I would love to say that we could get every color in the rainbow, but at this point, we're probably not going to do that. I would tell you at this point, we've got another 500 red trucks coming in this year. Randy and I talked earlier in the week, and there's a possibility that we may take another 50 to 100 before the end of the year on top of the 500 that we have. So I'm working with TFI on that right now. But have no intentions of changing over to a different color. And from that perspective, I know the big question is are we going to stick with Kenworth, right? Yep. This year, I would tell you we're going to stick with Kenworth. So anything that we do purchase additional this year will be Kenworth. But we will introduce another OEM next year. I'm not 100% sure who that is. We're going to let all the competitors bid out and see who provides the best tractor for the best technology and the capabilities, and we'll see where it goes from that standpoint. But we will have somebody in next year for sure.
And I can tell you, the more that we get away from these 5, 6, and 7 different models of trucks, the better our shop times are going to be.
Absolutely.
I remember, when I first started here and we only had T660s and T2000s, you might spend a day in the shop.
Yeah.
And they're getting away from that week at a time. That's,
yeah.
The more that we can do, the better.
Well, and that's the big challenge. I know it's all drivers like different trucks, and it's hard for us to have a plethora of, or what I call a zoo of trucks out there. But as we narrow that down, it gives us a lot more capability, and we don't have to carry as much inventory, overhead expense, all that type of thing. And ultimately, we can, to your point, we can get the trucks in and out a lot quicker.
Our techs will know exactly what's going on with
Absolutely.
them.
Yep.
So, healthcare cost.
Yep.
It's not a CFI problem. It's not, it's not a trucking problem. It's a United States of America problem.
Yep.
And are we doing anything? I know, we're a little ways out on open enrollment and that, but you guys in that executive type position, you guys are always looking ahead, that far ahead. So Can you tell us anything about that? Yeah,
so I will not make any promises, but what I will tell you is this. I know TFI, we just recently hired a employee that I know very well from my past life that has a ton of experience working with these third-party vendors that we use as insurance agencies, and knows that system in and out. And what I would tell you is we are very focused on trying to figure out ways to enhance, hopefully to improve our benefits at a lesser cost. Now, again, I can't guarantee that that's going to happen at a lesser cost, because I think everybody realizes that expenses are just continuing to go up.
Sure.
But if there's ways that we can tuck in some additional value or benefits there, we're going to try to do that. But TFI is very, very committed on doing this. As we continue to build out the organization across all of the TFI enterprise, they're trying to leverage their spend a lot better than what they have in the past. And ultimately, when you continue to grow, you have a little bit more buying power. So, I think over time, we'll continue to see some enhancements and improvements. Again, I don't want to tell you that our expenses are going to go down, because I just don't know that they will. But I think we can get a lot smarter at how we're buying things, and more importantly, I think we can maybe find some areas where we can tuck some nice benefits in for each individual. So that's kind of where we're at this point.
That's good to hear.
Yep.
So the last thing I'll ask you, truck driving championship. It's coming up June 1st and 2nd. We've got 21 competitors this year. We've almost doubled from last year. I know for myself personally, it's pretty special to me to be able to be part of that now that I'm in-house and not a driver anymore. I competed, I think, 3 years, and now I've had 3 years of judging off the road. So it's pretty special to me. What does it mean to you to see our guys step up to the plate like that and do that for themselves and for us as an organization?
Yep. Well, I would tell you, it's the first one that will be participating in since being with CFI. So I couldn't be more stoked about it, because one, I think we're actually taking one of our trucks over to actually be involved in the competition, which is pretty exciting in itself to see Big Red out there. But more importantly, to be able to have 20 or 21 drivers participate and represent the best brand in the industry is unbelievable to me. And I know that we're going to come home with some pretty darn good awards, because we got some really, really good drivers out there. I know last year we represented well. We didn't come home with as much as we wanted to, but I feel pretty darn confident, because even on our YVH calls, we've had drivers asking, hey, can you set up a parking lot out there for us to be able to practice and do some of the things we need to on our off time. So I know that we're going to bring home some medals this year, no doubt, and I couldn't be more proud of having that many drivers involved.
I would love to see it come back to CFI this year. So.
Well, nothing would make me happier than to beat a Walmart or a FedEx or some of these guys that have, rung the bell many, many years, and I can say that because I sat on the Walmart side for a few years, so I want to be able to kick some of the old Walmart tail, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. Well, anyways, folks, just to wrap up real quick, I appreciate you guys taking the time, gals taking the time to listen in to us. The reason we brought Jeff in is, one, to introduce you to some of the folks that haven't seen him or met him yet. And more importantly, as he's been a huge part of our success here the last 6-9 months, being in the role that he's in. And I think from my perspective, there was some folks that actually asked for Jeff to be on here, so we thought, hey, let's try it and see how it goes. But we're happy to have Jeff with us. And lastly, most importantly, thank you for what you do for us. We appreciate everybody out there. Please be safe, and we'll see you next time. Have a good week.